All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, talking about real music in real time for a couple of real people out there just like you and just like me. All right. So I want to thank Modern Retro Radio, number one, for their support of this station. Apparently, they're doing well because I gave them a shout out during the Clapton interview. The Clapton interview, by the way, will be used apparently on a national level through a syndicated radio show. So you want to look for that. They're going to use the audio, obviously, and thankfully not the video here because that would probably ruin it for everyone. But they're going to air certain portions of the interview, and I just said go ahead because I'm hoping more people will come over here and check the channel out. We'll see what happens here. The algorithm again is not my friend, but I've got to learn to stop complaining about the algorithm, right? Because it is what it is. And I had a couple of people say, hey, you're doing pretty well. And I said, yeah, I guess I was doing better, but I'm doing okay. And if I can maybe interview Eric Clapton, once a year, that might help, or maybe someone else. It's hard to get somebody of that stature, but I'm really fortunate. I'm blessed to know Eric, so that has worked out really well. All right, so in other music news, by the way, if you want to support this channel, please do so via Patreon, YouTube memberships, and Buy Me a Coffee, which has become pretty popular. Buy Me a Coffee. Pretty much all platforms can use that, even if your channel isn't on a monetized platform. So thanks to Buy Me a Coffee, it's actually working a little bit. So John Bon Jovi and Richie Sambora, the real reason Richie is not coming back to the band. So the first part of this is John talking about Richie. He says here, I've talked to him twice. He quit the band. They put periods after each word. He quit the band. All right. So he's trying to make a point. I swear to somebody, he uses a word I wish he wouldn't use. He uses a name, rather, that he probably shouldn't use. But anyway, I can just leave that out. You shouldn't leave Jesus out of your life, though. I swear there was never a fight, nothing. He wasn't kicked out. He quit. And he hasn't made any great overtures about coming back. Now, I added a little vocal inflection there to make it sound more dramatic, but he may have just been talking very quietly about it. Sambora later mentioned that his leaving was partly because he felt the band was getting stale. Yeah, I agree with Richie. At the time he left, and this is the music scene in general, they had really changed their sound where they were trying to be like alternative adult contemporary. And it's Bon Jovi, right? It's just, shout, rock, and holler kind of music. It's, big choruses and big hooks. And if you're not writing those sorts of things, and people, that's what people expect. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. I saw critics because, again, Bon Jovi politically lines up with the people who are critiquing what he's saying, or what he's doing, rather, and saying. And so he comes out with an album and they're like, yes, Bon Jovi finally matures and becomes a real adult band. It's like, why were they supposed to mature? And what was wrong with the not mature, not adult sounding band? I mean, people expect Bon Jovi to sound like 1988, right? For the most part. I get it. You can mature, and maybe your lyrics are better. Maybe your instrumentation is more sophisticated. Maybe you're not bringing in some of those production gimmicks from the past, but maybe you should bring some of them in, because then people will know, hey, this is a Bon Jovi record. So, anyway, after we find out that Richie said basically he left because things were getting stale, John says, I don't think so. And the collective, that's the entire band, we didn't think so either. I personally thought everything was going great. He used a different phrase, but I picked a substitute word. And it was never brought up in the room, or in the writing, meaning the songwriting, or in the recording, meaning in the studio, or during the first 20 shows of that tour. I don't know. Maybe Richie had a midlife crisis at that point. We don't know. Anyway, Sambora was talking about this documentary, which he didn't like, apparently, because it portrayed him in a bad way. He mentioned the possibility, or the interviewer talked about how he might rejoin the band. He said he was open to the idea, but he did cite one condition to join. And this is a big deal. And this is something that for the last 2 or 3 years, people have been talking about. The fans would just love it. It's not finance, meaning it's not the money. It has nothing to do with that. The world could use it, meaning a Bon Jovi reunion. But as John said, he's been having problems with his voice. Yes, finally we get to the heart of the matter here. And now he had that operation with some plastic thing in his larynx, and it's an iffy thing at best. So there you have it. Sambora doesn't want to chance this and come back and have the thing be a disaster. Earlier this month, Sambora also mentioned that John's vocals are unfortunately clearly not great after his surgery. He pointed it out as one of the reasons a reunion did not and probably will not happen. So there it is, the $64,000 answer to the $64,000 question. He's leery about coming back because, and John's voice has had issues, I would say, for the last 6 or 7 years, maybe. I might give or take a year or two, either direction, but was really notable the last time the band went out there, when even his wife, if you read the headlines and read these stories, his wife told him, hey, maybe you can't go out there and do what you used to do. Just no. So again, if you're a fan of this band, you have to kind of just get over the fact that John isn't probably going to be the same guy and Richie's not going to come back. And so you're going to go see kind of a shell of what you used to see if you're a fan of Bon Jovi. I remember when Huey Lewis learned that he had Meniere's disease, that inner ear thing, which apparently is incurable. He's tried everything. Nothing worked. He had all kinds of therapy. He went to all different sorts of doctors, and he couldn't fix it. And so guess what? There is no more Huey Lewis in the news. It's sad, but that's what happened. And if John's voice doesn't come back, then maybe it's time to just put this to bed. You're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Without Richie Sambora in the band, it's just not the same if you're a fan of this group. And I am. I'm more of a casual fan. I am not a hardcore fan of Bon Jovi. But I do appreciate a lot of their music, especially from, their very beginning up until the early 90s. And that's really the real good period for John Bon Jovi. He had a couple other songs. You Can't Go Back, I think, whatever that song was called. It's My Life. I mean, there are a couple of songs that were later on, I think, that were pretty big and not as signatory as the other songs. I don't even know if I use that word properly there, but still a big deal. Still trying to be a little bit like your former selves. Whereas they went into this period where they tried to be adult, contemporary, alternative or something, and it's not working. All right, folks, before I go, I wanted to share this band here at the very end. The band is called Rendezvous, right? And this is put out by Pride and Joy Music. Go look it up. Go to their website, look up Pride and Joy Music, just Google it. And hopefully you'll see this album as one of their offerings where you can order it. Or if you want to just listen online, you can do that. This is a bit like, say, Survivor and Starship and Toto and a bunch of things thrown together. And it's classic sounding if you like that era of music. In fact, if you're a Bon Jovi fan, you might check this out and see what you think. But again, courtesy of our friends over at Pride and Joy Music, they really are putting out some great stuff lately. All right, again, Thanks to everybody for watching the Eric Clapton video, and look for that interview kind of chopped up somewhere out there in corporate music world. And even though I'm not a fan of corporate radio, if it brings people to the channel, then God bless it, right? That's all I can ask for. And thanks to those of you who got here without corporate radio and are still here supporting the channel. God bless you. And don't forget, pray for peace in the Middle East. Some nasty things are happening over there right now. And I'm hoping that the fighting comes to an end, the bombing and innocent people dying. Well, this is just, it's not good. No matter whose side you're on, this is just not a good thing. So let's pray for peace. And I will see you soon.